All right. Welcome back, Hot Dogs and Donuts. You already know what time it is. Super Saturdays. You know, want to catch me 8 a.m. on Saturday mornings, Central posting time, United States, Missouri. You know how we do. Anyways, we got some videos to get into today. Videos. And that might work. What's that look like to y'all? We'll get that out the way and let the videos play.
Get this big ass bug out my bathroom!
What are you talking about? There's no bug in here. Nigga, what the fuck is that? Shit. The fuck?
Too fast for you.
Nigga, what the fuck?
Nah, that bug fucking him up.
Nah, this nigga frying my shit. Let me lock in real quick. Nigga, come here.
Hey, switch him down, nephew.
This bro about strong as hell. Weave. Weave, little nigga. Matter of fact, come here, nigga. Damn, that ain't doing a thing. This nigga strong than a motherfucker. Weave. Come here.
Homies, Dragon Ball is one of the funniest fan bases on earth because nobody in here is normal. And I say that with love because I ain't normal either, right? I'm including myself in that assessment. And you would think, right, that after all these years, all these arcs, all these transformations.
What up, Gojo? Good to see you. How you doing? Thanks for coming by and saying hi.
Whether Goku was a bad dad, just any of the assorted arguments, this fan base potentially maybe would have mellowed out a little bit. Absolutely not. If anything, Dragon Ball fans have become more segmented, more tribal, somehow more annoying with each passing generation. It's just so menace, man. So we're good at it. And the craziest part, right, is that most of us can recognize these types of fans and people immediately. You know, you see one tweet, one YouTube comment, one TikTok edit, one dude in the Discord call for y'all up in there screaming about Kid Buu versus Buhan. Already know what type of party this is about to be. You know what kind of fan you're dealing with, man. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about some of my own personal acknowledgments, man. Breaking down what I've seen as some of the general types of Dragon Ball fans just from doing the work on this channel. You know, my experiences with the fan base over time. The old heads, the super babies, the fake scholars, the power scalers, man, the subtitle supremacists, man, clip watchers, the hood classic dudes. You know, there's so many different species, man. I'm a Dragon Ball fan, and I think that it's worthy of discussing them for the sake of science and preservation, right? Because Dragon Ball itself, you know, it is very much not just an anime anymore, man. Like this issue is a social experiment, and I think for anybody that's been in the community for a certain length of time, you already know that every group is bringing something different to the table, if we're going to be honest, you know. Most of the time it's noise, but sometimes it can be wisdom, right? So, a lot of the times it's psychic damage. So we're just going to talk about it, right? Number one, my people, the boomer fans, man. We got to start talking about the group that I feel firmly implanted in, man. It was a self-call out. You got the Dragon Ball old heads, man. The Dragon Ball boomers, the fans who've been around long enough to remember I guess when Dragon Ball maybe felt like a little bit more sacred, you know, or maybe a little bit more dangerous is what we want to call it, more raw, less corporate, less polished of an experience, like less clean, you know, like less of a product designed by a committee kind of seeking the most profitable thing, you know, folks that came up on Dragon Ball, you know, like the old school one, or Z for us over here in the U.S., Toonami, the old dubs, the forums, the AMV era and stuff, where like being tapped in with Dragon Ball felt like you were tapped into something legendary and something different, you know, and because we've been around for so long, you kind of develop this classic symptom of like a veteran fandom, you know, things that happen for groups that have been around a long time. The chronic disappointment, excessive doses of nostalgia, recurring episodes of that back in my day old ass man yelling at Cloud's energy, and a severe allergic reaction to Super most of the time. And to be fair to my people, right, sometimes that criticism is very real. You know, a lot of old fans do feel like modern Dragon Ball is more interested in preserving recognizable iconography, you know, than pushing the franchise forward in a meaningful way. More worried about making callbacks or just recycled emotional moments and stuff, and making all these safe choices like, oh, hey, you guys remember this? Instead of like, let's evolve this thing, you know, let's take a risk on it. I don't think that criticism is fake whatsoever or bad, right? I think the boomer fans' problem, though, is that we can easily turn every conversation into a funeral. Man, we can't just say, like, oh, yeah, like, I like Super Broly. I thought that was cool. Nah. You dealing with us old-ass men and women out here, you gotta hear a 14-minute dissertation why modern Dragon Ball got no sauce, no aura, why transformations don't hit anymore, why nothing feels earned, why Goku has been spiritually, physically, and emotionally declawed, why everything after the Cell Saga is basically a controlled demolition of Akira Toriyama's legacy. We be going in, man. And somewhere, of course, you know, we gotta talk about Bruce Faulconer. Because it's just what we do. We gotta bring it up at some point, man. Now, I guess the Dragon Ball boomer, in my mindset or my belief, man, you love this franchise deeply. More deeply than, I don't know, man, maybe anybody, than a lot of people at least. But we also talk about it like a divorced father of three getting over a woman that just like, well, we never got over it. We never got over it. You know, we still love it. Still checking out the page. You go on Facebook every now and then. Still haven't healed. So now we gotta talk about the opposite end, the super babies, bro. These are the new generation fans, man. Like the super fans, like the guys that are loving some modern Dragon Ball. You know. Talking about people who either got introduced to Dragon Ball Super through like maybe the modern games or like TikTok, YouTube clips, maybe like the recent movies and stuff. Like, so for them, this version of like Dragon Ball, like they don't see it as being in decline. To them, this is just what Dragon Ball is, man. This is what they're growing up on. This is what they know. So when you got the old heads talking like super, we're calling it a war crime and everything else, they're looking at us like confused, like, what's Bro's problem? Like, why Uncle say? You know, because like they got their perspective from something different, man. They feel like they got some cool forms, some cool fights. You got a new Broly, Vegeta's here, Beast Gohan, man, Ultra Instinct. You know, they got like that one of the biggest modern anime moments, period. You know, so the franchise still feels like very huge and relevant. So I can imagine they see some of us crying and they're like, bro, what are y'all on about, right? Like the Dragon Ball looks like it's doing fine in my book, and going back to like people having a point, sometimes they do, you know, because I think as like older fans, you know, sometimes we don't always know how to separate like this is a flaw, like it's flawed in some way, you know, versus like this insulted my childhood, it's insulting the memory of the thing that I love. But I guess the super baby, you know, they got their own problems too, you know. Sometimes maybe talking with incredible confidence, about material that maybe they just haven't sat with for very long, you know. Like maybe saying things like, oh, Gohan was always like this, or like Goku, like, I don't know, bro really didn't change that much, or like, yeah, the Super made Vegeta better. Like, what are you talking about? You know, without understanding why other people in the fan base feel the way that we do. You know, why those statements are so easy to start fights in the first place. You know, I won't say it's because they're like automatically intrinsically wrong, but because they haven't lived with the older versions of these characters, you know, like the same way we have, and for long enough to know why we get so touchy about them and what that emotional attachment is about. So you end up with this like weird tension between the older fans who see the newer fans as like unserious, man. It's just like whatever, who even cares about their opinion, and the new fans seeing the old heads, these dusty ass gatekeepers, you know, that like time moved on, but they're still back in the 90s or whatever. And honestly, man, being completely fair, both of them have a point sometimes. Number 3, we got the brain-rotted social media fans, bro. This is one of the most powerful forces of nature that we have in the fandom, bro. They're dangerous life forms. You got like, you guys are dangerous, man. Because these folks, you got a lot of people, they ain't watched Dragon Ball or Super, man. Like they've experienced Dragon Ball they've experienced it in a way, right, from clips or edits or maybe hot takes or like agenda tweets on social media, out of context screenshots, debates online on YouTube or something, or maybe like what their favorite content creator told them their opinion should be about what's going on with Dragon Ball this week, you know. But they don't really know the show like that, and they don't really care to know. They love the discourse around it, man. They don't remember the arcs like that, man. They don't know the characters like that. They don't remember the narratives and stuff like that. So you get the prepackaged arguments. Goku being a terrible father. Vegeta has always had better character development. Oh, there it goes. Gohan fell off. Or like, yo, Super completely ruined everything without knowing why people say that kind of stuff. GT was actually peak. Never watched GT a day in their life. Excuse me, man. Oh, I'm getting worked up. You know, they don't care that much, man. I feel like that's kind of what makes them dangerous. You gotta know what you're contending with. As for them, Dragon Ball is like, it's a weaponized social experience. You know, they don't really care about it like that. So these are people that are coming in, and their first priority is to argue, provoke, ratio, donk, bait people, ruin your lunch break. Basically what these folks are ready to do, man. This is somebody who will confidently say something insane. And then when you ask them for like the context, I need the receipts, and then you get like a grainy ass scan of like they just got nothing, bro. Or a gif of like future Gohan bleeding out in the rain. It's just, and if you keep arguing with people like that, like it's kind of on you, right? Like it's on us, because after a certain point, you gotta accept that we're just not in a discussion anymore, right? Like, this is a wrestling match, bro. And you're a wrestling man who's wrestling with a person who built their worldview out of YouTube shorts. You're not winning that, man. Like, it's just, don't know what to tell you. Number 4, the actually fans. You got encyclopedic knowledge, man. Like, these people that'll correct you so quick. I see. I have a lot of exposure to this from doing the YouTube channel, because if you talk long enough, you're probably going to get something wrong, right? So these people that, like, they know dates, guides, interviews, filler distinction, dub changes, manga chapter details, movie release context, obscure lore tidbits, translation nuance, anime only. This is what Toriyama forgot. The Daizenshu said this, the Kazenshu corrected it. What game material is canon versus not canon? And I don't know, man. Just like, why your favorite argument? Nah, bro, that's invalid. Subsection 4, paragraph B is like the Japanese supplemental text from 1993. They'll kill you. They got elite Hall of Fame ball knowledge, and I will absolutely give them it. But the way that it manifests sometimes, right, is that sometimes like this kind of fan can look like make this discussion or trying to share your love for the IP miserable in some cases, you know, because now every conversation feels like an audit, bro. I feel like I'm going to the tax preparer, where it's like, you can't say that around here, bro. You're not allowed to think that. You can't. There's no trying to simplify. If you misspeak, There's no casual human rhythm or cadence to our back and forth. Because the second you do, they will appear out of thin air just like a sleep paralysis demon. It's just ready to tell you why you're a jackass, man. Goku's power level at that specific moment was, bro, I don't care. Like, I do, but I don't, man. That's the tricky part about dealing with like this subset of the fan base, right? Is that it's like a lot of the time, it's not that they're even wrong, it's just they're so committed to being like technically correct, you know, that they will absolutely suffocate the life and energy out of the room. Dragon Ball's fun, man. It's messy. You got emotional moments, weird stuff, contradictory stuff in the canon, hilarious moments, cool moments, but like the actually fan can make it feel like tax law, man. It's a lot sometimes. Power scalers. I feel like I'm somewhere in here sometimes too. Now we got these individuals, man, just spiritually unstable. We've got the power scaling community. Power scalers, they ain't watching this series the same way that casual, just normal folks is watching Dragon Ball, man. This is a different ball game for them. They watch it like the assistant district attorney that's like building a case for their fighter. Like every line matters, every feat, like the statement matters between power levels. All these contradictions and stuff, they can become like an existential crisis to this person because like, but my database, like these are people, you know, that like a conversation can turn into a 6-hour conflict over whether Goku beats Naruto or actually does he got hands against Sailor Moon, but what if Sailor Moon and Sonic and then your landlord and then Scott Steiner all teamed up, can they defeat Goku if he's got one arm? And it's like, it's fun, right? And it's always been a part of like battle shonen culture, you know, like who wins, who's stronger, how does this character measure up in like the grand scheme of like the canon and what's going on? But I guess the problem is that some of these dudes no longer seem like emotionally attached to like the story or like the story itself, man, or like being able to enjoy it in the same way. You can become attached to winning arguments, you know, like losing that joy and love for Dragon Ball itself and seeking domination over someone, you know, it becomes a tool to dominate somebody else. They want to see your character get folded, washed, stomped out, publicly humiliated, peed on. They just talking about like the cross-series debates. It becomes so intense.
See
Oh
it
my
get peed
goodness,
on,
man.
damn.
And I guess like
shit.
what makes it worse for like Dragon Ball as a franchise, right, is that like it can kind of encourage the sickness a little bit, because one of the founding pillars, man, of like I guess modern strength discourse, it is one of the pillars of like modern strength discourse in anime. So people like feel like they're like you're protecting holy scripture. Like there's so much of the Dragon Ball community specifically that was founded on this. So like you have all like the scaling change, like speed, like all like whatever happens to be the topic or the word for the month, man, and you're fighting against, just fighting for your life against a man with a Goku AVI and just 48 bookmark screenshots ready to go at any given time, man. You're not beating these people, like you're just hoping to survive them. It's like Zebra Elite, bro. That's all you can hope for. Next up, the subtype snob, man. The person that considers themselves like the purist, you know, the elitist, man, about on the sub versus dub category. Like, oh, you watch dub? Really? That guy, the person that hear that you like grew up on like the dub and immediately looks at you the type of person that microwaves your steak. They just no respect. They act like Dragon Ball can only be appreciated one way, man, like in its purest form, and like in Japan. Under the moonlight, it's just like I just know, man. And look, I don't mind the siren out here. It's just like it's noon over here. We have one of those things. But like, look, you don't want to be overly dismissive, man. Like, of course, there are some performances that are absolutely better than others, man. Some versions that do carry different tones. The translation piece matters, cultural context, all of that stuff. There's very much an argument to be made for that, you know. But sometimes you have like a certain part of the fan base that can just take it too far, you know, because it's not just enough maybe for that person to say like, oh, you know what, I prefer this maybe for like X, Y, and Z reasons. It's now know that they're attacking, you know, that you imply that another person's entire relationship with the series is illegitimate because maybe you heard like Sean Schimmel before Mrs. Nozawa. Man, that like, oh, you really, like, what's wrong with you? You don't really care. And they're like these folks that are like, I'm about to learn Japanese any day now, brother. Any day. Like, yeah, man, been saying that for 20 years. Like, I'm going in. But I don't know, man. It's just that mindset and just the way that you can kind of invalidate other people's experiences because you insist on yours being like the only real way to love it and everything like that, man. I don't know, like there can be, of course, like it can be an intelligence to like this kind of fan, and it can be useful, like bring up useful points of discussion, but just like a really nasty habit of making like anime, I guess, feel like a thing that people love and come to enjoy in like a private club, you know, where just like this weird intellectualism and just like this competitive aspect to it. And Dragon Ball, man, of all series like that, like what a place to become like overly pretentious about, because this series, man, what it like, I'm one that likes to talk about like the depth in some of these characters that don't go appreciate it, but like there's an inherent silliness to this series as well, man. So next up, the hood fans, the hood class, man. These are the fans that you know what? I grew up, excuse me, around like this particular fan, man. The person that grew up with Dragon Ball. Excuse me, man. There's something flying around my face. I grew up with Dragon Ball through Toonami, like the cultural osmosis and stuff. Like the schoolyard arguments, man, just like grew up seeing it and everything. And for them, like Dragon Ball is like it's different. It's not just anime, man. It's like to them, like they almost separated. There's a distinction between what Dragon Ball is and what anime is, you know, and like they're only willing to like mess with Dragon Ball. They see everything else is either too weird, you know, like or like too niche, or just I ain't messing with that, you know, like they're not really even willing to give other anime a chance outside of Dragon Ball. You know what? It reminds me a lot of like ball and gun gamers, that kind of thing, man. The dude the men and women that play 2K, Madden, GTA, and just think the rest of like gaming is like y'all playing that stuff, y'all weird. You know, and it's just like, man, you're really close-minded about this, you know. And Dragon Ball, like I get, man, to like each their own. We're all going to develop like our own unique relationships with it and everything like that. But I don't know, like going back to like just the rigidity and this type of fan, man, they can just get so deeply closed-minded about like the medium and stuff, man. They don't want anime as a medium necessarily, like just really at all, man. Like they want the feeling that like Dragon Ball gave them like when they were younger, you know, like this deeply like nostalgic aspect to it, and kind of resent so much other stuff, man. Either because it doesn't recreate that feeling, or they just don't want to accept what it is. You know, they don't even want to give it a chance, so they'll dismiss whole genres, whole classics, whole ass masterpieces, because it's not hitting the same as when Goku went Super Saiyan on Namek. You know, which is like it's a moment. I get it, man. Of course, I understand that, but I don't know, that moment feels like it ruined media literacy for a lot of people. Alright guys, we're coming up on the end of the specific ones that I want to talk about, but I want to get into the agenda fan, you know, because I think that if you love the series, like we can all be guilty of this, man, where you're not engaging with Dragon Ball narratively all the time. They almost see it as like a political campaign for for their favorite character, man. The Gohan apologists, the Vegeta apologists, just every post, every debate, like they're just they're ready to fight, man. Like there's always looking for a reason to push the agenda, the Vegeta agenda, the Gohan agenda, the Z Broly agenda, like whatever it happens to be. It's kind of like with some of the other fans we talked about previously, man, with some of like that elitism or just like the way that you interact with the fan base, where you kind of like are losing some of that love and care for the story, and it becomes about like beating people into submission intellectually kind of deal, man. And it's like, is that like really like the place that we want to be at, you know, when it comes to I don't know, man, like expressing our love for like what this thing is, or just like engaging with the fan base. Like, is this good for your health, man? That's just stuff like Gohan was like the real main character. Dragon Ball has been broken ever since Toriyama chickened out, and just like again, the agendas, you know, like some of these old memes that we have seen within the fan base that have even been debunked at this point through people that were there, or even just like interviews that have been discovered and stuff. And like they can create good discussion, you know, like sometimes they can keep like that passion alive and everything else, but other times like it's just like selective hearing and everything, man, where like they're only willing to listen to the arguments that corroborate that agenda, you know, like this person already decided what they believe, and then anybody else that has a differing opinion, you know, like it's just like it's just ammunition or something to battle against. Last one I want to talk about for now, guys, is just like the tourist, you know, like the event fan, you know, like that kind of the person that maybe only shows up when Dragon Ball is kind of having like a cultural moment and like that kind of thing, you know. Maybe there's interest when the new movies come, or like a new form, you know, like new game trailer, big announcement, you know, like, or like the internet's on fire, like, yeah, what's up, what's kind of up with this Dragon Ball thing, man, what's happening over here, you know. But like when the dust settles, you know, like the hype and stuff dies down, like they disappear like Batman after he's done talking to Gordon. You know, like you're just like, hey, Batman, and you look behind you and they're not there. No, and I'm not going to sit here and call folks fake, man. I was just talking about elitism, you know, but they don't live in town, bro. Like, they're not townies like us. They just come to visit, man. And because they're not deep in the trenches in the same way, you know, they can come with, like, a lot of energy, you know, but not always, like, the patience or the context that we got when you've been here for a while. You know, they like the hype, the aura, the clip moments, the different reveals and stuff when like things are blowing up, and then they just kind of bounce, you know, like they're out of here and everything, man. And I think Dragon Ball can kind of thrive, especially recently, man, can really kind of thrive on these sort of people because it's looking for that global appeal, you know. It's globally recognizable, like trying to continue to like grow and expand, and it's a franchise that can absolutely summon, you know, more of like that casual fan power, you know, but hardcore fans, right? Like people that have been here for a long time, it can turn into hate very quickly because it feels like an attack, like they're only coming in to like misinterpret everything and then leave the rest of everybody else holding the bag. That's about the ones that I want to cover, you know, and that's kind of the cool thing about like Dragon Ball fans, right, is I feel like we're all annoying, but every group is also kind of like right about something. You know, we're we complete each other. You know, I think the old heads can. You're right that like the franchise has changed. You know, and
Yep.
not always for the better, if we're gonna keep it a whole buck. And like the newer fans can be right that some older fans confuse criticism, you know, with bitterness and nostalgia, with like objectivity, you know, like those emotional connections we have, we can confuse that with actually being objective sometimes. Power scalers, man, that it's a big part of like the series DNA and everything, right? And casual fans, you know, are right that sometimes like this fandom we can be in the weeds so much, man, it can be very possible sometimes take like everything maybe a bit too seriously, you know. I think that there can be some validity in that, you know, but I guess when you put all these different types of people in one fandom, you know, you got like this whole internet ecosystem around it, and then put in with like one of the most iconic series to ever grace the planet, man. And like that's Dragon Ball, you know, like that's exactly what Dragon Ball has been for like a long time now, man. A fan base that's full of really passionate people, hilarious people, exhausting, extremely defensive, nostalgia goggles, chaotic, and sometimes very unserious, man. And maybe that's kind of part of the charm of the whole thing and everything too, you know, because even with all like the crazy arguing, like the gatekeeping, I guess like the bad takes that can come, maybe some of the snobbery, the fake scholars and keyboard warriors, all of this stuff, man. That's the reason that we can get so intense about this stuff is because it means something to us, you know, because we really do love this thing and we care about it, you know, because maybe it raised some of us and introduced some of us to anime, reminds us about just simpler times being a kid, you know, maybe a better times, man. Maybe one of the few series and things that they can still find like a genuine love and passion for and everything, man. So like, on some more serious note, man, like I think that, yeah, we're absolutely like a mess, you know, but like there's a reason that like all this developed, man, because we all have like a deep care and passion for it and everything, man. And I think all of us can kind of see ourselves in like these different types of people too. So all I got for you, gang. What do you think? Well, let me know in the comments, man. What type of fan do you consider yourself? Were there any types of fans that you're familiar with that I missed, that I didn't put in here and everything? Because I'm curious about your thoughts, because this fandom stuff runs deep, man. It's a big one out here, so it's a big IP in a big world. So let me know what you feel like I missed as well. Please like, subscribe, comment, hype me up if you enjoyed it. And if you really enjoyed, maybe take a look at channel memberships, man. Exclusive videos, member exclusive content, help keep me alive here in the streets of YouTube. But with that being said, I'll let you guys get out of here. I'll catch you again in the next one.
Yeah, that's important. Make sure you stay alive in these YouTube streets.
Kaioken.
The whole movie, Goku was not trying to use Kaioken. Then he's like, all right, let me go ahead and just warm up.
So, you find yourself on the Unrelent Gaming channel. How fortunate for you. I Lord
Hey, good to see you. How you doing? Thanks for coming by, saying hi.
Subscribe and turn
Y'all better go check out that guy that reads to you,
also,
aka Skelly Pop.
Unrelent Gaming's Patreon.
Got a lot of things going on. He done created a new YouTube channel. Make sure y'all go support that too, right? Right. You know, shout out to that big homie. On to the next big project I see.
Now
while I am expecting for many great things to come out of Goku's training while having him undergo the third and final stage of his omniversal training within the realm of the angels alongside with me, I am also just as eager to see on just how great Vegeta will end up in having to also be once his omniversal training with Lord Beerus is finally over, because there could be no doubt that if anyone has the heart along with the drive to achieve extraordinary things within the realm of the gods, then there can be no doubt that Vegeta will be the one who will achieve such strides.
As our story now continues, following the initial training events involving Mastered Ultra Ego Vegeta and having to be shown battling against several gods of destruction within the realm of the gods, which with the venerable retired god of destruction Moltus Prime alongside fellow god of destruction Hawkins having to oversee this battle involving Vegeta from afar, was when Hawkins went on to then further address Moltus by then responding, "Now while I'm just as surprised to go and see these sudden events unfold the way that they are alongside the rest of our fellow gods of destruction, I'm curious to now know how long has Beerus been training this mortal warrior for?" Hawkins went on to then further question, and more importantly is what exactly is it about this mortal's transformation that allows for him to go and withstand the power of multiple gods of destruction like this venerable Prime, with Moltus Prime responding, "Through everything that I am able to see and understand from afar while watching this mortal spar against the gods, I can safely go on to declare with an unshakable certainty that this mastered ultra ego of Vegeta's isn't something that can just go on to merely withstand the onslaught of the gods of destruction, but it is also stronger than they are as well," Moltus Prime says, as the reason behind this overwhelming superiority emerges only in that specific level of power that Vegeta calls his mastered ultra ego, Moltus adds, because in the very case if he goes and chooses to revert back to his base level or use anything other than his current form that he is using against the gods right now, then Vegeta would be operating within the boundaries of his previous mortal limitations, whereas in this level he would not, Moltus says, and so the form that you are seeing him currently use against the gods is what I would best describe as being the pinnacle of his controlled symbiosis, with his heretical Saiyan pride in serving as his ultimate and eternal anchor, Moltus says. However, be that as it may, with what we are able to go and observe for the amount of time that we have, as strong as this warrior of Beerus's is and as impressive as he has been so far, we cannot go and take away from the fact that his weaknesses are also now starting to become more and more clear to us the longer that this goes, because while this current form of his grants Vegeta overwhelming destructive output and durability that can both withstand, counter against, and even rival or exceed the gods in the test of power, there are in fact but a few ways that he can still go and be thrown off balance and be caught off guard if fast enough to go and get around him, as I would imagine that his frustrations in fighting off multiple destroyers at once must be getting the better of his mindset, but we will instead go and wait and see as to where this will go as their training continues, Hawkins. Which it was only then when having to make our way back down onto the battlefield and having to see God of Destruction Ricardi be shown getting behind and choking Vegeta whilst having to have him locked within his vice grips and refusing to let go, was when Ricardi went on to then address Vegeta by then quickly responding, "Oh no you don't, Saiyan, but I've gotta go and give it to you because it's not very often where I would go and find myself struggling against the likes of you and your kind, but don't go and get too cocky because that won't last for much longer, especially now that I've got a hold of you here, Vegeta." To which seconds later, as Vegeta was now beginning to notice that his neck was beginning to catch fire as Ricardi was then shown in continuously choking him, was when Vegeta went on to then quickly respond, "Perhaps you disgusting rodents, why is my neck suddenly starting to burn? What are you doing and how are you able to go and burn me like this, you little furball? Just you wait until I go and get a hold and you go and do exactly what, huh, Saiyan? Lose sight of me again like you did the first few times that I went and invaded you? Please," Ricardi continues, "and besides, now that I have you locked within my destroyer's death clutch, I am going to slowly squeeze that neck of yours until I burn your head clean off your shoulders, and there isn't anything that you will be able to do in time that'll change the outcome of what is about to happen here, Saiyan." To which it was only just upon with two massive Hakai balls then being shown quickly making their way towards Vegeta was when Beerus went on to then quickly address Vegeta by then responding, "Now try not to go and forget that he isn't the only enemy that you are left to go and deal with out here, Vegeta. But then, it was only just as Vegeta had managed to quickly turn around and allowing for these massive Hakai energy attacks to slam directly into Ricardi was when Vegeta went on to then quickly respond, "In your dreams, you dirty little rodents, because you have another thing coming and you thought that I would go and simply let you try to run me down like that without going and doing anything about it, but now you can clearly see that this isn't going to be as easy as you would hope for this to be." To which, as Vegeta was then quickly shown turning around and having to knock Ricardi back, was when Hawkins went on to then quickly chime in, "The Saiyan's quite the clever tactician when his back is up against the wall, but while his appetite for ongoing conflict against the gods only continues to strengthen his destructive capacity and capabilities," Hawkins adds, "his pain tolerance will only continue to reach its breaking point the longer that this goes, and once that happens, then despite with Vegeta remaining in control of this contest for the time being, with Ricardi being just as powerful as Beerus is and with Moscow being the weakest of the three, and I'm curious to see on if their numbers advantage over the Saiyan will be in what will drive Vegeta into defeat by the end of this battle, or if it'll simply go and continue to remain within the Saiyan's favor. I can't stand the sight of that ridiculous student of yours and how difficult he's been when having to engage in battle against him, Beerus," Ricardi says, "as you are the one who is to go and blame for all of this." But then, it was suddenly from out of nowhere having to surround Beerus, Moscow, and Ricardi as a circular ring of energy was then beginning to emanate, was when Moscow went on to then quickly respond, "What the heck? There, beneath us, and just what in the world is that Saiyan up to now?" With Beerus having to then quickly chime in, "Oh, not this again. Hurry and stay on guard before Vegeta uses this moment to go and burn us beneath the flames of his ring of destruction," Beerus shouts, to which it was only seconds later as both Beerus and Moscow were completely overcome and surrounded by Vegeta's ring of destruction and having to consume both of them, as Ricardi had just quickly managed to go and make his way through Vegeta's ring of destruction attack and now having to make his way ever so closer towards Vegeta, was when Ricardi then went on to quickly respond, "Like hell you'll wind up in having to go and fry me of all gods, and so now hurry it up if you're looking to go and fire that arrow down on this mortal Halise, and you better go and make it fast too," Ricardi says, "as I will go and show you on which one of us here will be the ones that will be getting fried in this battle, and it won't be me, Saiyan." To which suddenly within this very moment now, as Halise's arrow was then shown quickly having to pierce right through Vegeta's arm, as Vegeta had tried to do his best in having to surround Ricardi within his ring of destruction, was when Vegeta went on to then quickly respond, "Why, you annoying..."
Y'all notice how he went ahead and made most of his gods in the animals also? That's cool, but they show that there are people gods. So, the animal guys is cool because, they animals. You know what I mean? You expect some guys to be some fucking critter looking fucking deals, right? Shout out to them deals.
Little vermin, don't think that trying to go and get the other gods to attack me when you least expect for me to notice is going to go and help you here, God of Destruction, with Ricardi responding, "Oh yeah, well just go ahead and do your worst and see where that'll get you, Saiyan, because you are running on borrowed time and deep down you know that your end is near, Vegeta. However, you'll need to go and try to move much quicker than that if you hope to try and catch me off guard like how it was I did to you, Saiyan." To which, of course, Ricardi did in fact actually have a point here, because with Beerus having to then warn Moscow, as Moscow was shown in having to be completely defenseless before being taken off his feet by the very arrow that had struck Vegeta, was when Moscow went on to then quickly respond, "Hey Beerus, try to go and hold that Saiyan back for as long as you are able to while I go and try to repair the damages on my suit that Vegeta made, so that way I can go and Oh damn it, Moscow, I had warned you that something like this was bound to go and happen, and you should have been prepared like how I told you to go and be," Beerus shouts. But of course it would only now just come down to me and that annoying Ricardi
knock the fuck out, right?
to go and challenge Vegeta, who aren't already assisting from afar, and so I've got to go and try to find a way to go and slow that Saiyan down and fast before it's too late, Beerus continues. And since I know Vegeta like the back of my hand better than any of these other gods will ever even come to realize, Beerus continues, then I know what he's already thinking, because he isn't going to go and stand down no matter how difficult the challenge is. That is, unless somehow he is either driven out of using that mastered ultra ego form of his, or is defeated or destroyed during the course of this battle, which obviously may not go and come easy when seeing as to how he's going and handling himself out there against us, Beerus continues. And so because of my cautiousness in this battle against him, I'll need to go and try to create a diversion of sorts and seeing if it'll break him. To which it was only just upon with Ricardi being shown having to now confront and challenge Vegeta's barrier of destruction directly with his own signature attack as Vegeta's barrier was now beginning to crack was when Vegeta had went on to put up his barrier by then having to quickly respond. Oh, damn it. I'll need to go and try to find another way to eliminate that little hairball before he goes and tries to find a way to overtake me during this battle. Yes, with my barrier now cracking due to the sudden pressure and with the amount of force that's being driven down into me, Vegeta says. It's now or never, and so this ought to go and buy me a little bit of extra time. Galagon! But fortunately enough, as Ricardi had managed to quickly move out of the way just in the nick of time before Vegeta's Galagon was then shown and having to connect as Vegeta was then shown unbeknownst to Ricardi being shown teleporting behind him was when Ricardi then went on to quickly respond. But how did he just... so you like to play rough now, do ya? Well, two can go and play that game, Saiyan, and so just you wait until I go and get my hands on you again. But then, it was only from within these very moments now from above Ricardi as Vegeta was then shown quickly having to get above him before Vegeta was shown and having to make his attack and having to slam Ricardi right back down onto the ground was when Vegeta went on to then quickly respond. Now, if there was any doubt about who I was or what it is that I represent as a mere mortal with a power that both rivals and exceeds that of the gods themselves, then allow for me to go and give you a proper introduction, Vegeta continues, and so now know your place from this moment forward or I will continue to go and stomp you down into the ground like I am each and every single time that you go and but it was only from out of nowhere within that very moment now as Beerus was then shown quickly having to tackle Mastered Ultra Ego Vegeta and driving him further and further towards the edge of the ring was when Beerus went on to then quickly respond. Now this was the ruthlessness that I had been talking about that I wanted to go and see from you, Saiyan. But while you are still technically my student, even if you have earned the official title of being called a god of destruction now yourself, Beerus continues, there are still but a few traditional customs that me and the other gods are just dying to go and introduce you to, Beerus continues. But don't...
And of course, y'all know your boy got to get y'all that zoom in on that. I mean, that's a screenshot right there for y'all. That hand of destruction. Ooh-wee. I mean, hell, you know, y'all supposed to be ready to go with it. When you watching with your boy, you know, we're going to get you that shot for you. We're going to get you that shot. Shouts out to that. Clip it, as they say. Did and Beerus over here fucking trying to body rock.
Don't be foolish to not go and remember what I had taught you here either, Vegeta, or you will be destroyed.
These two straight be fighting in this series, though. I love how he always does that. Like, yeah, it don't take so long for him to catch up.
Vegeta was when Ricardi went on to then quickly address Beerus upon having to be shown firing his attack by responding. Now try not to go and botch this up and hold that phony wannabe god of destruction student of yours right where I can see him. Hand of destruction! However, Vegeta, on the other hand, by no means was having it because despite with Beerus being shown and having to do his best in trying to drive Vegeta off the stage with Vegeta being shown slowly having to pick Beerus up was when Vegeta went on to then quickly respond, "Oh, the hell with your ridiculous traditions and follow your fellow destroyers into the voids below where you can go and join the rest of them. Don't go and get smart with me just because you've got the edge while using this form here, Vegeta." Beerus went on to then quickly leap on over by grabbing Vegeta in a chokehold by responding, "As you should never go and forget about where it was that you had gotten that form and how it was that you had got it, Saiyan, and so you are still my student at the end of the day. My student, you hear me? And because you are still a student of mine, I hope that you still remember the lessons of what it means to safeguard your power through the practice of using the essence of destruction to go and protect yourself with." Beerus continues, "Otherwise, you are going to go and find yourself in a very dire and desperate situation if you wish to go and survive until the very end here, Vegeta." To which it was only just then within these very moments now with the gigantic explosion then being shown to emanate from within the ring with with Beerus being shown having to put his guard up was when Multus Prime went on to oversee the entire situation by then responding, "Observe how Vegeta continues to endure and adapt. Hawk is ferocious, isn't he?" For it would seem as though Beerus has indeed taught him far more than simply having to just refine his combat in order for it to go and match destroyers, but he had also instilled within him the mindset of a destroyer as well, Multus Prime continues. And with his Saiyan power now infused with god-level destruction at an atomic level, Multus continues, every critical hit not only goes on to continue to power him up more and more, but it also triggers micro Zenny bursts within his system, and since his training here within the realm of the gods, Multus continues, Vegeta has grown to be able to forge near instant adaptation and recovery without the need in having to go and rest so quickly, but it's starting to go and cost him very precious energy as a result of such a tactic, as sustained barrages
I
from
know you still here,
multiverse
Scully. If you made
destroyers
it
can
up in the
still go and
morning,
overwhelm his
yeah,
conversion rate of adaptation, which could drive
I know
him
you
into
be up,
defeat
but
if he isn't careful.
shouts
With
out to
Hawk
the
is having
kids.
to
They
then
wasn't having
respond,
enough
and
time to
while I
watch some
will go
Spider
and give the
Kids.
same credit for his
Yeah,
unrelenting resolve and
appreciate
focus
that.
and keeping himself together for a long enough
They
time
say,
and being
yeah, I
able
can
to
smoke and watch
withstand
the little
such a battle
Spider
when
Pig,
facing off against multiple
rock out
gods
with
of
the
destruction,
homeboys.
but I can't help but go on to question the bedrock of this certainty, because no matter how extremely gifted this Saiyan may appear to be within the heat of the moment, I foresee the inevitable breaking point approaching rather swiftly, where his impressive fire will be gutted and fade during this contest, and going and leaving nothing but scattered embers where Vegeta's grand anchor had promised to go and stand firm when facing off against the gods. But Hawkins continues, through all of your wisdom and with everything that you were able to see and understand when having to observe this mortal from afar, then where exactly is it that you see this battle going in, if this is how this Saiyan will go and continue to respond? With Multus Prime responding, well, I'm afraid that it lingers at the moment as this battle continues to be waged, but while Vegeta's weaknesses are now beginning to appear more and more evident, Multus continues, the accumulating toll of sustained battle damage is beginning to show within the microfractures of his mangled mortal body, which ultimately means that if Vegeta is to go and allow for this to continue without the need of having to go and change his approach when facing said gods of destruction, then the Saiyan may end up in having to find himself within a far more dangerous situation than the one that he is currently placed within, Multus adds. However, with the few weaknesses that I see coming from him aside, which could go unnoticed if it wasn't for my experienced and trained eyes and having to watch this from the sidelines, then it is safe for me to go and say that this is only but the beginning of so much more that I'm sure that we can go and expect from both parties as their training continues, and so look carefully and try not to miss it, Multus says. So it's suddenly within this very moment now, as Vegeta was revealed to still be intact as he was shown in having to put his guard up and defending himself from Rikari's attack, was when Vegeta went on to address both gods of destruction by then responding, "You destroyers may have wounded me during this battle, but do not ever forget," Vegeta says, "on what it is that I represent when standing here among you, because I want for you to go and take a real good look at what stands across from you here today, because in case you may have assumed that this was going to be over so quickly," Vegeta continues, "then I just want for you to see on just how wrong you destroyers were in thinking that this was going to go and break me, because so as long as I am able to go and remain as I currently am here against you gods of destruction," Vegeta adds, "then you can expect for the chaos to continue to rage onwards, because while you may have went and had damaged me beyond my standard mortal capacity, which would have already destroyed me if I had went and used anything less than the full extent of my mastered ultra ego power here against you, but through this very intense struggle is where I will go and continue to find ways in order to grow stronger and stronger as each day passes on, because by the time that this is all finally over with and my training within this realm for this upcoming tournament is finished, then not only will you destroyers learn to go and acknowledge my name with respect when it is uttered within your very presence," Vegeta adds, "but I also vow to go and become the absolute most powerful wielder of destructive power who has ever walked within these sacred halls, in becoming the most powerful destroyer god who has ever lived throughout history," as it was only right then and there now, during that moment, where the Beyond Dragon Ball Super Legacy of the Omniverse, the official top 5 strongest warriors in the multiverse sequel, manga chapter number 29 special, then comes to a close.
Well, actually, I'll go ahead and take it from here, as I do want to go as far as to address something very important with our dear viewers at the moment. As before I go and give you the following information, if you aren't already a member of Unreal's Patreon community, then you are truly missing out on so much without you even knowing, because not only is the next episode already on the page, but if you want to support all of the manga content that you see and gain access to tons of exclusives along the way that range from a variety of different things, then we do encourage for you all to become members of our Patreon community today, for we will link everything down within the description box below and pinned comment section as well. Now I will go as far as to say that while I expected nothing less from a
rolling. Oh.
warrior like Vegeta, in seeing him hold his own against some of the most powerful and dangerous gods of destruction, I am extremely proud to see Lord Beerus having to continue to further Vegeta's evolution by training him the way that he currently is, but with the Omniversal Tournament drawing ever so closer by the day, I am curious to see on just how far Vegeta is willing to continue to push himself while remaining within the Destroyer's realm, and because of this, you do not want to go and miss out on what is about to happen coming up next. So we hope that you all enjoyed today's video, and before you leave, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up by smashing that like button on your way out, as well as also subscribing to Unreal Gaming's channel for tons of new Dragon Ball content. So with that, we thank you all so much for watching, as we'll be seeing you all again for the next one.
Now, I know it might be weird, maybe even a little bit sus, but just trust me, okay? Just shove it in your mouth, Catman.
Say what now? I will do no such thing, Talking Bugman, but what I will do is encourage you all to subscribe to Unrelent Gaming for the latest Dragon Ball content. And while you're at it, make sure to like the video. Also, don't forget to become a member of Unrelent Gaming's Patreon community for more exclusive content, early access, and much, much more. Do it now, or I'll destroy your planet, along with every taco.
Hey, don't just waste the goddamn thing. Pass it here.
Robbed Super Saiyan God of its greatest moment and replaced it with a louder explosion like we would not notice. Because in the manga, Super Saiyan God was never a one and done transformation. It was a real form with real strategy used across multiple arcs. And the anime just looked at all of that and said, nah, we good. We got Kaioken. Now let me set the scene. Goku is fighting Hit in the Tournament of Destroyers, and instead of just going straight to blue like the anime did, bro actually goes through the forms like somebody who paid attention in class. Base, Super Saiyan, then Super Saiyan God. And here is what makes it different breed. Super Saiyan God Goku in the manga was stronger than Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta at that point in the story. And Goku was not even using it to show off. He was saving stamina, staying in God for all the moving and the running around, then going blue for exactly 1 moment to break Hit's time skip with a God Kamehameha and end the whole conversation. 1 transformation, 1 moment, fight over. That is a man with a game plan. Then the Goku Black arc comes around and Vegeta does the exact same thing. God for movement, blue only at the moment of the punch, and he was so cooked Goku Black that Shin stopped and said, wait, that is the same strategy Goku used against Hit. Meanwhile, the anime had Goku stack a Kaioken on top of Super Saiyan Blue, like he is out here mixing energy drinks and praying it does not kill him. No game plan, no strategy, just more power poured on top of more power. Like that is always the answer. Bro really said, I cannot figure out how to beat this man, so let me just turn the volume up louder and hope for the best. The manga built a whole system. The anime just kept hitting the same button until something broke. But what do y'all think? Did the anime completely disrespect Super Saiyan God, or is the manga the only version that actually knew what to do with it?
So I'll be making a rare in-person appearance at Comic Palooza 2026 on May 22nd, 23rd, and 24th from Houston, Texas. I'll be there taking pictures. I've got some prints and doing panels, but it's not just me that's going to be there. The entire main cast of Daredevil, Born Again, Charlie Cox, Wilson Bethel, Vincent D'Onofrio, even Kristen Ritter. That's right. Kingpin, Daredevil, Bullseye, and Jessica Jones will all be there. S.A. Morales is going to be there. Lou Ferrigno, Lawrence Fishburne. There'll be plenty of reasons for you to go to this convention in Houston, Texas, May 22nd, 23rd, 24th. Check out the link in the description so you can get your passes and be there at Comic Palooza. Okay, so I hope y'all are having a very, very good day today. I want to talk to you guys about some things that have been talked about in the community lately, and I want to clarify some things about a supposed Dragon Ball movie that has been discussed for a while. The next big Dragon Ball movie, I want to discuss what some accounts are saying and tell you what I've gathered about this story. So by the end of this video, you'll be informed on what's going on. Now, I've been saying this a lot lately in recent videos, but I'll say it again. Please make sure you watch the entire video to the end. The reason why, it's not to get engagement or anything like that. It's genuinely because I want you to make sure that you hear everything I have to say, and so that way you don't just hear part of it. You know, sometimes things get misconstrued, taken out of context, there's confusing stuff. I just want to make sure you have the whole story here, because this video is going to go over the entire story, and I'll be very candid with you about all of this on today's video. Don't forget to leave a like if you're stopping by, and if you are new to the Geekdom 101 YouTube channel, remember to hit the subscribe button and enable all notifications so you don't miss a single upload. Here we cover the news and lore and history. I'm talking movies, anime, manga, and even some video games too. We've been here over 11 years and much more to come. I thank you for changing my life and your continued support. Earlier today, LT Sakuna discussed that Toei's listing 2 big movie projects coming up for 2027, and this account seems to believe that in 2027, maybe even 2028, because Jump Festa 2027, they might be referring to next year's Jump Festa or the one in December. It depends on what they mean about the announcement of a new Dragon Ball movie and a new One Piece movie. Now, I understand why this person came to that conclusion, but the first thing I want to talk about here is I want you to know that even though Dragon Ball and One Piece are the 2 biggest properties that Toei has as far as anime goes, they're not the only ones. They also do Digimon, they also do Sailor Moon, Precure, and World Trigger. Toei has a lot of properties. Yes, Dragon Ball and One Piece are probably the biggest, right? Like, they have the biggest audiences, but just because Toei's listing 2 movie projects does not mean they're going to automatically be Dragon Ball or One Piece. But I understand why LT Sakuna, Low Tier Sakuna, thought that. Now, I want to actually talk about this Dragon Ball movie rumor, because this rumor actually has gone back to even 2024, actually even further back than that, 2023, and if you really dig even deeper, right after Superhero. So earlier today, this account, Joao Pedro, who, by the way, he's a good dude. He didn't do anything wrong, but he brought up something that I remember we talked about back in 2022. This interview with Akio Iyoku, right here, as you can see on your screen, I actually remember talking about this, where he discussed that they were already working on the next project, and I think a lot of people, including probably even myself, thought it was going to be another movie. In fact, I think there was another either interview or translation where it actually was, oh yeah, we're making the next movie. Now, that was all the way back in 2022. But since then, we've discovered that the next project after 2022's Dragon Ball Superhero was Dragon Ball Daima. And we know that for a fact because the original animation sheets were dated in 2022. The pre-production for Daima was in 2022. So at that time, that was the next big project. Now, was there going to be a movie after that? Well, if you remember, about sometime in 2024, I did a video discussing this rumor about there being more Toriyama projects coming after Daima, and I discussed that there was rumblings of possibly a new movie. Now, if you remember what I said in that video, I said that the film, I classified it as a rumor because I was not comfortable enough to say it's for sure happening. I didn't want to break the story without being for sure. To give you a little bit more clarity on that, I'm actually going to give you a bit more insight. I directly asked somebody on the Dragon Ball Daima production, I directly asked them, is there a new movie coming? And they told me that they weren't sure, but that their superior told them it was possible. Now, when they said that to me, I was not going to sit here and be like, oh, it's for sure happening. Why would they talk about it? No, that's not what I said. It's possible does not mean it's going to happen right away. And what happened was I wound up talking to some other people and nothing really came of it. There was no multi-source that there would be a movie coming out. It just wasn't, it wasn't something that I felt comfortable enough to say it's definitely coming, which is why I told y'all I would just classify it as a rumor because there wasn't enough evidence. It was just rumors. It was just people literally within the production talking about what the next project would be after Daima. Now, that was then. And there wasn't much to come after that. I don't even think I discussed a new movie for a while after that because nothing came of it. There was no talk. There was no pre-production. We just assumed, that was it. Then Akira Toriyama, of course, he passed away in 2024. And then the talk was, well, there's talk that he may have left behind either a script or notes. To this day, we still do not know everything that Toriyama left behind after his passing. We don't know what Akio has. We don't know what Toyotaro has. There may have been something. There may have been nothing. We don't know. To this day, neither one of them have actually talked about any projects that were being done other than what we know, which is the Dragon Ball Super Beerus Enhancement Project, and of course, eventually adapting the Moro arc. But last year, when these rumors started up again, one of the things that was being tossed around by the French Dragon Ball community, and I had actually been told this too by them, was that there was going to be an announcement of a Dragon Ball Daima movie taking place after the Daima series, probably still in the Demon Realm, and that it was going to be 3D. Now, when I was told this, my bullshitometer went off, and I'll tell you why. I did not believe it for a second, and here's why. And obviously, I've been skeptical before of stories, but this one was a red flag, and I'll tell you why. Because when it came to Dragon Ball Daima was meant to be a back-to-basics approach. Dragon Ball Daima, unlike Superhero, which used computer effects, which used CGI technology on top of 2D animation, Daima was classic hand-drawn digital 2D. That's what Daima was. It was like Broly. It was like the old Dragon Ball shows. It was meant to look like classic Dragon Ball, not what Superhero had given us. So for them to do an entire 20-episode series of classic 2D animation and then do a CG movie, I felt would be strange. Now, with Super, Broly was classic, animation, and then Superhero was CG, so you might be thinking, but what about with Super? Well, with Super, the movies worked a bit better as these sort of solo stories. Yeah, they're all tied together because they're all part of Toriyama's vision, but they're still self-contained stories, whereas the Daima movie was said to be tied into Daima, sort of like an extended season finale, maybe the fusion bugs, etc. That's what people were thinking. But there was no evidence to that, and there's been no announcement of it, and I can tell you now that as of right now, on May 3rd, I don't think there's going to be a Dragon Ball movie coming for a while. There's been no talk of it. It's been denied everywhere. Now, does that mean there won't ever be a movie again? No. I do believe that we will get another theatrical Dragon Ball movie at some point in the future. Maybe after the Moro arc airs, maybe after the Granola arc airs. And down the road, I don't think we've seen the last of Dragon Ball movies in theaters because they've made Toei so much money. But as of right now, as of this moment, there's nothing that's being worked on or even planned, at least from the pre-production standpoint. What Akio and Toyotaro and all these tippy top people have in their heads, I don't know. Nobody knows except them. But this 3D Daima movie had no basis to it. Same thing with the rumor of the Vegeta movie that Instagram and Facebook love to push. It's all BS. Now, Venixis, who I do trust, I talked about him recently in videos. He says that, he even talks about how he heard the same thing I heard, that there was a rumor of them doing a 3D movie in the works, but it's a hypothesis that turned into a leak amongst the French. He's basically saying that somebody in the French thought it might have been cool, and then somebody else thought it was actually a leak when it wasn't. So this was just a rumor. That was not what I heard in 2024, though. This is a separate rumor. And so and he even goes on to say they have the 3D assets ready from Superhero. All of the programming stuff they did in Superhero, they still have access to that, so it'd be easy for them to boot up all that information and do another super follow-up. But there's no evidence to support that actually happening at all, at least not now. In the future, I think, yeah, it'll probably happen. We will get a new movie at some point, but that's not the focus right now. And when I say we're going to get it at some point, I'm just going to say that that's a guess. That's not leaking. I'm not giving you any inside information. We may never get a movie again, but I think that they make so much money that it would be foolish for Toei to never do one, and I think it'll happen. So right now, 2 years ago, it was a rumor. Right now, I'm going to downgrade it. I think now it's not even a rumor anymore. Now it's just, I say, inaccurate, not true films. Like, it's not true. It's just not happening right now. Now, what I cannot confirm or deny is whether or not Toriyama left behind notes. That has not been revealed yet from Akio, from Toyotaro, from Victor Uchida, or anybody working on this. We don't know if there was another story Toriyama had planned for a movie. Maybe they'll reveal it someday and say, hey, we found this. He told us about it but we kept it a secret. That all could happen, but there's no evidence to support that right now. So if I were you, just be aware that the only projects coming down the pipeline, even though, yes, Toei's still putting out movies, they're not necessarily Dragon Ball movies. So even though we've got people in the community now assuming it's not a fair assumption. One Piece and Dragon Ball are big, but I mentioned there's Precure, Sailor Moon, Digimon. These two movies could be anything. Could be totally different franchise. Could be anything. So, but Dragon Ball in 2027, I don't think so. Further down the road, it's probable, I would say. I hope that makes sense. So, if you hear anything about a movie being in production at any point this year, just consider it fake news unless it actually gets announced. But I doubt that because there's nothing happening, so it's going to be fake news. The main thing now is Dragon Ball Super Beerus and the remake arcs that we talked about all week on this channel. Make sure you watch those videos. They're going to be on your screen right now, and the upcoming Moral arc. So keep it locked into my channel for more. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next video.
As you will see.
Anyways, y'all know to go check out the big homie over at DJ Is on his YouTube and all his social platforms. Anywhere you're gonna be looking for the music, cause y'all already know he got them beats for you. Appreciate that. And of course, y'all know to go check out the Buy Me a Coffee link, cause you know we keep that popping with some posts and some information for you over there. You know the Spider-Verse data book is available for sale, digital copy and physical copy. It's gonna be aggressive with your physical copies because I still gotta put that together for you. But you know, whenever you order it, it is in process of being put together for you. So don't even worry about it. You dig?